the other very significant development were the strikes that were taking place. What we were seeing on that day when we were driving around Cairo were not just the independent unions that were on strike calling for all of the workers to be on strike, but also state-owned companies, the petroleum company, the electric company, the telecommunications company, hundreds of people who were outside refusing to go to work, saying that they want better salaries, better pay, better welfare. You know, they've had these demands for years and years. But now, given the fact that the police weren't going to stop them if they did protest, now was the time. Now was the opportunity for them to voice them. And it was like this pressure had been lifted from Egyptian society, and all parts of the society were coming out now.
With the momentum on their side, protesters in Tahrir Square begin to sense that they need to make their move.
There was definitely a feeling by Wednesday that the protesters needed to step it up. They needed to move outside of the square, and that is what we kept being told by those inside. They were saying that we have been here now for 2 weeks, our demands are not getting met, and now it's time to widen this out.
On Thursday morning, the rumor started to fly that perhaps he wanted to avoid a public embarrassment on Friday.
There were indications that a speech may be made, and then we started hearing from people within the international community, and then we were hearing from members of the National Democratic Party that perhaps he would go. And as the hours went by, it started becoming clearer and clearer that something momentous was going to happen, and that the statement would in fact lead to Mubarak's departure.
They've closed the parliament. Workers have been told to go home. Soldiers have entered to protect it. The first time the army has been on parliamentary ground in Egypt.
After nightfall, at this crucial stage, comes a statement from the military. What this means is not clear.
The military has now issued communique number 1, suggests to some that perhaps now the military is in control of some type of hierarchical structure in the government.
And it's interesting to note that President Mubarak isn't in that meeting.
Once that communique was announced, we could see people changing direction, turning back in, more people arriving with food, with blankets, expecting a long night.
Perhaps the most interesting development was the communique that was issued by the military. For many people was a sign that a new beginning of something had transpired, that the military had now entered into a phase where its communications had taken on a different tone. This had been as if they had reset the clock.
I mean, it's an absolutely electric atmosphere on the square, one of a carnival. People are celebrating a victory which is still anticipated rather than actually achieved, but you get the sense that they want to be here to witness it with their own eyes.
As you look back over the events, you wonder what might have precipitated this and why it's happening this evening. I guess mainly because there was going to be an enormous rally tomorrow, probably the biggest ever, and they wanted to perhaps preempt that.
Egyptian state television said that President Mubarak's speech is expected to be live this evening. Not only is it going to be every Egyptian glued, everyone in the Arab world will be watching this very closely, because if in some way it breaks Egypt from its past, you can rest assured that its reverberations are going to be felt in so many corners of the world, and they will be felt immediately. This situation remains very, very fluid.
We feel like it's our one chance in a lifetime to just get all our demands. We are waiting here until all our demands are heard and done.
There are just over 1,000 die-hard pro-democracy activists here outside Sidi Gaba train station in the center of Alexandria.
We are witnessing history unfold. It's a moment of transformation that's taking place because the people of Egypt are calling for change. America will continue to do everything that we can to support an orderly and genuine transition to democracy in Egypt.
It's almost as if President Obama is waiting for the cue from Egypt to know exactly in which direction this is going to take place.
What you're going to see from this administration is a hesitancy to talk in public until President Mubarak makes his speech, because if you look back at the 30-plus years of a relationship with President Mubarak, there are pictures of every U.S. president gladly meeting him in the Oval Office, and there's the talk of all of that tens of billions of dollars worth of aid that went to prop up his government.
It's 19 hours GMT, 9 o'clock in Cairo. Excitement is growing as events appear to be coming to a head.
A handful of Egyptians grew to hundreds, grew to thousands, grew to millions.
We all here are celebrating already. We believe that something is going to happen. We believe that the president, inshallah, will step down.
Well, the only thing I'm expecting to hear from Hosni Mubarak tonight is that he's leaving. Now, my own personal preference, of course, is for him to stay in the country and get prosecuted on charges of treason, murder, and corruption.
I just want to show you what Egyptian state television is showing the nation right now. Did you spot the difference between their coverage and our coverage there? There is no difference. That is quite significant.
Now that state television had changed its tone, AlJazeera, though still legally banned, felt able to name and show its correspondents on screen.
The images that they showed, images of really from a distance. They would show you pictures of the protests to try to give you a sense that they are small numbers. The protests were never really shown in the significance or given their proper editorial weight. And perhaps what you're seeing behind the scenes is the regime slowly, perhaps coming apart by showing you these images to ordinary Egyptians for the first time.
The atmosphere in the square is absolutely electric. People have come in there, tens of thousands. There is quite literally standing room only. There's a real sense here that history will be made tonight. But right now, they're already celebrating a victory, which as yet, they're still anticipating.
Well, I'm just squashed. There isn't a spare place in this massive square right now. The atmosphere here, well, you could describe it like, think of a carnival, which might be premature. There's a feverish anticipation here about what Mubarak is going to say.
By 10:30, when Mubarak, running late as ever, finally takes to the stage, a rare silence descends over Tahrir Square.
You could hear a pin drop once President Mubarak started his speech. Complete silence engulfed the square.
The citizens, the children of Egypt, men and women, I address you today, to the youth of Egypt, stationed in Tahrir Square. I have been a youth just like you.
Mubarak's rambling speech went on for 17 minutes. The longer he spoke, the clearer it became that the gap between president and people was unbridgeable.
I went to war. I won victories.
Suddenly a change in the crowd from attentive silence to deafening roars of go, go.